Charles the Fourth.
Good day to you. What do you need?
I've come in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa. I'm investigating the massacre in Neuhof, and now a murder here as well. Can I ask you a few questions?
I don't know anything about it, but ask all you want.
That man Lubosh who would...
I didn't really...
Have you noticed anything suspicious?
Come to think of it, he was in church yesterday. I was wondering...
That's all.
May the Lord watch over you.
Onions, garlic, delicious, juicy cabbage, the freshest you can get.
The blessings of our good Lord be with you, Father. I'm here in the name of Sir Hanush of Lipa, investigating the massacre at Neuhof, which seems to be connected to a murder here. Can I ask you a few questions?
It seems Sir Hanush is employing children as investigators. But ask as you wish, boy. I hope this nasty business will be cleared up quickly.
Did you know Lubosh? What was he like?
Bit of a lost soul. Simple, rough fellow, but at heart I don't think he was such a bad person.
Did you notice anything suspicious recently?
My child, all sorts of suspicious things have been going on recently. People like...
That's really not a lot of help to me, Father.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Do you know what Lubosh was doing on the day Neuhof was raided?
Unfortunately, I do know. And I'd like to help you with your investigation, but I can't.
What?
I'm bound by certain vows that forbid me to tell you.
Vows more important than catching dangerous murderers?
There are laws of God above the laws of man, son, and one of those is the sanctity of the confessional.
Father, surely you can't be serious. There must be situations in which you can make an exception.
There are things that apply always, no matter what the circumstances, and this is one of them.
But Lubosh is dead. You can't hurt him, but if you don't tell me, more innocent people may die.
If I told you, I would be betraying a vow that if people believe the sanctity of the confessional could...
Worse than the death of innocent Christians? Worse than the murderer escaping punishment?
No one escapes punishment.
Father, Lubosh was my only lead to the Neuhof raiders. Only he could tell me who was responsible for that massacre. If I don't find out who it was, it will probably happen again. Surely you wouldn't want that.
I wouldn't. But I can't betray the sanctity of the confessional. I'll tell you what. Give me some time and I'll try to think up some way of helping you. Suppose we talk it over in the evening, in the tavern, over a cup of good wine. Maybe we'll come up with something.
All right. Thank you, Father.
Good luck to you.
You live here?
Of course.
I mean here, in the presbytery.
Yeah, right here.
In the presbytery? With the parish priest?
Yes. What's the matter? Don't you like me?
Yes, of course I like you.
So why are you surprised Godwin likes me too?
I'm not. I mean, I see. I think.
Goodbye.
Radishes, carrots, and apples that'll put a smile on your face.
Good health to you.
I'd like to learn to read.
You? You don't look like the make. Bear in mind, it won't be all that easy. You'll need plenty of...
I'll think it over and come...
May the Lord watch over you.
I've come in the name...
Of course.
That's all.
May the Lord watch over you. One beer.
I'm sorry I can't tell you everything, but maybe we can work something out. But first, I'd like to hear something about you, my son. With whom do I have the honor? Where are you from?
I'm from Skalitz.
Oh, I'm sorry. What about your kin?
They're dead.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Here, we'll drink to them. It must have been terrible.
It was terrible. It seemed so pointless. We had no warning. They just appeared and began the slaughter. God knows why. They killed anyone who didn't make it to the shelter of the castle. My parents, my girl, even the Deutsch who was on Sigismund's side. I didn't make it to the castle. I wanted to try and help my parents, but there was nothing I could do. Then I fled to Talmberg with the Cumans on my heels. They almost killed me. They slaughtered people in the surrounding villages. There was a pile of bodies in front of the church in Rovna. Folk who tried to take refuge there, but they...
My poor child. May God grant them eternal rest. And how did you come to get this assignment? I'd have expected Sir Hanish to send that old grouch, Bernard.
He did, but I found a witness and the trail led here to Ujits, so he sent me here to follow it up.
Ah, well, congratulations. It's nice to see someone using their head to find things out instead of torture. We'll have to drink to that. Now the most important thing. What actually happened at Neuhof? The good folks hereabout are saying all kinds of terrible things, but I take most of it with a pinch of salt.
The rumours aren't exaggerated this time, unfortunately. The Neuhof stud farm was raided by bandits, but they didn't come to pillage or even take the horses. They only wanted to kill. They maimed the horses and slaughtered some people. I'm sure they would have killed more, but the bandits quarrelled among themselves and broke off the attack.
Pour me one.
And judging by what's left of our Lubosh, they're still settling accounts.
I see it's every bit as bad as people claimed. Dreadful. Well then, here's to those poor souls who had to die so pointlessly and so terribly.
I've told you all about me. Now it's your turn, Father. You don't look much like our parish priest at home. I noticed you're pretty handy with a sword. I wouldn't expect that of a man of the cloth.
You know what they say. The Lord moves in mysterious ways.
But this is a bit more mysterious than others.
Let's just say I haven't always been a priest. Fate led me to places where affairs were settled by force.
Pull me an egg.
These days, of course, it's just a bit of exercise to keep me in shape.
I noticed there's a woman living with you at the presbytery.
What of it? Have you never met a cleric who lives with a woman before? Mother Church won't let me take her to wife. Too afraid it might lose its property to any heirs she bore me. But she cooks and cleans. And, well, as a man, I have my needs.
I'm not sure the parish priest at St. James would agree with you.
I heard he was a bit odd.
Well, we've had an agreeable chat, but now let's get down to business. So, about this confessional seal. Do you really want more innocent people to die?
Henry, that's not how it works. There are matters in which you can't make exceptions because if you do it once, you'll forever be tempted to do it again. If people stop believing in the church because their confessional secrets are betrayed, they won't trust anyone, and that's worse than even the most hideous crime.
I understand, but that means I've reached a dead end. Those cutthroats will strike again, and I can't stop them.
Chin up, lad. I might have a solution.
What?
If I tell you what Lubosh told me, I'd be betraying the confessional secret.
Got it for you right here.
But, first thing tomorrow, I'll try something I think might help you.
Word of honor?
On my soul.
I always wondered about the things a priest tells his congregation.
As you wish.
Where on earth do you get the ideas for your sermons?
Well, Ujits isn't Prague. It's not enough to instruct people. They have to be entertained, too. If I only read from the Bible, I'd soon be preaching to an empty church.
Our priest wasn't exactly a bard. So what do you preach to your flock about?
It has to be something topical. Condemning vices. And, of course, describing them in detail. The tongue-lashing about the two popes goes down well these days. And stories from real life, with a nice moral to them, are popular as well. Especially if they're about fornication and similar scandalous vices.
Can you give me an example?
Well, recently a priest by the name of Jan Hus started preaching in Prague, in the Czech language, and the people liked it. I hear he always has a full house. A journeyman who heard him told me what Hus is preaching, and I like the sound of it. I'm thinking about putting it in my own repertoire.
What's so amazing about it?
The preaching of Master Jan Hus about Mother Church, the lamentable wealth in which the church is drowning has turned to poison, and nearly the whole of Christendom is contaminated. Just like a flock of hungry ravens, they settled on this land to devour every grain of gold and silver. They know no mercy. Their hearts are corrupted by longing for wealth, and they shamelessly profit from everything. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay and you will have absolution. What if the devil himself were to pay? Would he ascend to heaven too? With such money gained from the poor, they buy beautiful horses to ride and needless servants to pamper them. They gamble at dice and dress their whores in expensive furs, while Jesus Christ walked barefoot and had no place to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too. Amen.
Well, this Jan Hus character is quite a rebel.
Oh, the congregation will love it.
I don't doubt it.
Let's drink to that.
Funny, that last bit reminds me of someone.
What do you mean? My situation's completely different. Huth preaches against the prelates and the clerics who are robbing the poor. Look at me. I don't have a pot to piss in. I'm no better off than the folk I preach to. I'm one with them in poverty and suffering and everything that troubles them. I drink with them and curse those stuffed habits in Sasau Monastery.
Don't you think it's a bit odd when someone boozes and lives in sin with a woman and then criticises the Pope for debauchery?
No, I don't.
What do you think of this Jan Hus?
He's certainly a wise man. A little overzealous for my taste. If he got out of Prague and came here for a look, I'm sure he'd stop condemning drinking and lying with women.
Where can I find out more about his teachings?
You like it? I copied down some of his sermons. If you're interested, you can read them at my presbytery.
What do the common folk think of it?
They like it. They're happy to hear someone say what they think themselves, but are afraid to say aloud. Things that make them angry. And they're calling for change. In a few years, it'll have grown beyond control. You mark my words, the people will rise up, and the church will be shaken to its very foundations.
Yeah, unless they burn him at the stake first.
Nonsense. They can't burn a master of the most respected university in Europe.
Thanks for the sermon, but I think I've been morally uplifted enough. Oh, it's getting quite late. What are your plans, Father?
What do you suppose? We have a drink, of course.
Ah, that sounds like a good plan.
I knew you wouldn't let me down.
Przyszła bida mora lat, to nie ustoi żadnej chlap. Na kraj padł dziesięć smutek, do dnie i rano utek, niech już małżeński majstrat, do wczera żylne staje brak. Už sej mojí svatý muži, nechtěl bych bejbě i kůži, právě jedno a požadem si huby jako poslední den. Půjde se mámy, ano ráda slávy, a tak vypal sudy a posaď se mi sem, tak posaď se sem a vypal je ven. Ukaž vozy, zítra jen tu soudnej den, tak nalej mi hned a točí se svět.
Enough of this! Bailiff! Come on over here, sit down and have a drink with us.
Don't vex me again, Father. It's 3 hours past dusk, and curfew is long gone.
So what?
So, I'll have you all whipped and put in the stocks, and I'll write a letter to the bishop about you, priest.
Well, nothing to worry about then. Everyone knows the only one around here who can write is me.
Enough! Men, throw them out.
Oh, come on. Ah! Oh. You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
think because I'm a man of God, I won't kick your arse? Thou shalt not hurt thy neighbor. You think because I'm back, you get your penance now.
Yo, take that.
Thou shalt not hurt thy neighbor. You think because I'm a So, my dear, wouldn't you like to have a little ring on the bell? No sooner said than done.
I'd love to. And Henry, too, I'm sure. Right, Henry?
Stop that nonsense, Godwin. Are you out of your mind? What will people say?
They can say what they like. What do I care? What do they do to me? Watch the step, my dears. Careful, you don't hurt yourself.
Godwin, you're...
Here we are. Look at this beauty.
We can't do this, can we?
Who says? Get ringing, wench.
This is wonderful.
Ah, bloody oath.
And now, my dears, comes the climax of the evening.
Godwin, you old goat.
Come here. Oh.
The priest has mounted up. What do you say, Henry? Shall we take a little ride of our own?
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
Godwin, you beast. Get up. Do you hear me? Wake up, you drunkards!
Oh, fucking hell. Where the... Oh, what the... Oh, who the hell are you? Oh, Henry. My great friend, Henry. Didn't we have a wonderful time?
Well, you certainly did, you old lecher. Now you better pull yourself together quick. You haven't much time. There's some water and something to eat on the table there, but if I were you, I would move my hairy arse before my flock eats me alive.
Oh, step on in my head. My guts. Oh, my poor suffering stomach. Oh, what was that woman on about? Wait, before my flock eats me alive. I've forgotten something. What have I forgotten?
Where the fuck am I?
What the fuck was it? Oh. Mass! Oh shit, I have to say mass. I gotta say Mass. You have to help me.
How? You're the priest.
I can't do it in this state. Maybe the liturgy. But I have to give a sermon as well. Oh, this is a disaster. They're gonna excommunicate me.
I'd like to help you, but...
You can. You can do the sermon for me.
What? So, first I investigate a murder no one wants investigated. Then I drunkenly keep the whole town up all night. And now you want me to preach at them from the pulpit? Do you want them to burn us at the stake?
No. No, I've got it. Suppose that Sir Ratzig's protege. You just came from studying in Prague. And you want to share the words of Master Jan Hus, who you recently heard preaching there. Henry, look. From what I remember, we might have overdone it a bit last night. And if the bailiff or someone else complains about me, the bishop's gonna have my guts for garters. So I'd appreciate it. Stop gaping at me like a stuffed squirrel and start helping.
You're mad. You're stark raving mad.
I'm not. It's a perfect plan. It's flawless. Oh. How about this? If you help me with this, I'll tell you who Lubosh's cronies are.
So all at once, the confessional seal isn't so sacred?
Don't mock me. I won't give you a second chance.
We'll never get away with it.
Not if you make a hash of it.
Well, all right. I can't make any promises about what'll happen.
No, neither can I.
What do you want me to do, exactly?
I'll go and start the liturgy. Then I'll introduce you. You give the sermon I told you yesterday in the tavern, and that's that. No need to drag it out. If it turns out well, I'll tell you what I know about Lubosh.
Christ almighty. Fine then. We have a deal.
Wonderful. Let's get to it then.
Never show up. The swill pole.
Look at him. He can hardly walk after his capers last night.
You were with them, you beast. Just you wait. Look at him. Mother of God. Any minute now he'll throw up.
So I couldn't sleep a wink last night with all that clamor.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Accepit panem in sanctas at venerabiles a manus suas. Hac facite in meam commemorationem. Brothers and sisters, you may have had the honor of meeting Henry from Skalitz, who is here at the behest of Sir Hanush to investigate that heinous crime at Neuhof. You might not know that Henry recently visited Prague, where, by the grace of God, was able to hear Master Jan Hus from the esteemed Charles University preaching. I've managed to persuade Henry to stand here today in my stead and tell us what he heard. Because, as you all probably know, Jan Hus is a very popular preacher in Prague. So, Henry, you may begin.
Now I'm curious which one of them will puke first.
Brothers and sisters, let me get straight to the point. I'd like to talk about the church and how corrupt it is.
Boy has a cheek.
One should not believe in the church, because the church is not God. God is above all things, and the church is but a means to salvation, which the prelates do not care to hear.
He's right.
It is the corruption of God's pastors here on earth that has brought misfortune on our heads. Plague, humans, hunger, and chaos. The accursed wealth that the church is drowning in is poisoning almost the whole of Christendom. When dogs are fighting over a bone, take the bone and they will stop. Just like the flock of ravens that has descended on this land to peck up every speck of gold and silver. They show no mercy. Their hearts are poisoned by covetousness. They trade everything. Everything is for sale. You want to baptize a child? Pay. You want to steal and murder? Pay, and you will have absolution. And the prelates sin and give themselves absolution.
For shame! Shame upon them!
And what sins? They live with harlots and keep concubines, even though only marital intercourse for the purpose of procreation is pure. If someone takes a woman or man only to satisfy their own lust, who seduces them to do so but Satan? And how much darker the sin if that man is a servant of the church? Who can turn his face to God, who fornicates and then puts on priestly robes?
Nothing we don't know about already.
Enough about sin, which the prelates are so fond of preaching about, and whose absolution they promise if you only pay enough coin to Mother Church. What if the devil himself were to pay? Will the bishops tell us he too would ascend to heaven? And what about those bishops? They sin without remorse, and with the money grasped from the poor for indulgences, they keep fine horses and hordes of servants to pamper them. They play dice and garb their mistresses in expensive furs, while Christ, the Lamb of God, walked barefoot and had nowhere to lay his head. Look to your consciences, you robbers of the poor, for you are seen by God and his people too.
Down with the prelates. Away with them.
We're fortunate to have our good Father Godwin. At least he's a fair and simple man.
God sees what is happening on earth, and he is filled with righteous wrath that those who should seek the salvation of souls instead seek mammon and the idle comfort of lucrative posts. Blessed are the shepherds who share the poverty of their flock, who are as one with you and bear with you the burden of this earthly pilgrimage, who do not condemn your venial sins.
Oi! All honor to Godwin! Let him drink like one of us!
That is all I heard in Prague. Amen.
The lad spoke well, considering what a soak he is.
He's right, that Hus.
The young man shouldn't drink so much, but the Lord's given him a
I'm
silver
glad he
tongue.
came here. I don't suppose I'll ever get to Prague, and he told it nicely.
Well, well, my boy, you have talent, and I can't deny it. And you pulled a thorn from my side. I almost didn't make it.
Yeah, I noticed. I wasn't the only one.
Oh, what's to be done? I'll make it up somehow.
So, about our bargain.
Although it's a sin.
So gluttony and fornication.
God does forgive a penitent.
So, what did Limpy Lubosh tell you? Was he at Neuhof that day? Who was with him? And where are they now?
Now, slow down. I'm sorry, but he didn't tell me that much.
Don't let me down after all I've been through. For you...
Well, now Lubosh came to me shortly after it happened. His conscience was gnawing at him. And I must say, in the end, he turned out to be a better man than he looked. He said they'd been hired through some crony of theirs. And at first they were just to steal some horses. But then it all turned sour and people started getting killed. And neither he nor his cronies wanted anything to do with that. So they fell out from the gang and fled.
Fell out? Yeah, there was a body found in the woods by Neuhof.
That would explain something. Lubosh kept jabbering that he wasn't a murderer, that he didn't want to do it.
So I know that Lubosh killed the murderer and he's dead too. The trouble is, I need to find the ones who are still alive. I need names and places. Did he mention any of the others?
Only nicknames. Talked about some fella called Riki from Ledechko, Pius, Timmy.
Pius. That lot are about as pious as I am ordained.
Nonsense. You would make an excellent priest. And anyhow, with your skills, you ought to be able to sniff out this Riki from Ledechko, right?
Well, we'll have to now. There's not much else to go on. Let's hope he's not hanging from the wall too.
Indeed. And I'd hate to be excommunicated for nothing. Anyhow, good luck. You watch out for yourself. These people clearly mean business. And I'd like to raise a tankard with you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll try. Although I'm not sure I'd survive another night of your debauchery.
And if anyone should ask, you heard nothing from me. I'll deny everything.
I don't doubt it.
Don't remind me. It was always in the evening, while there's still a bit of light. She sits down and gets on with it. And she's quite bastards came by night.
I'm not
Crept into
surprised.
the stables
Betty
and
was
started
always good with her
killing the
hands.
horses. Can you
You're right
credit
there.
the horses?
Do you have any work that needs
doing?
My dear lad, I have more worries than I can bear. I have to deal with a local witch.
A witch?
The herb woman, old Gertrude. That devious hag who will stoop to anything.
Oh, don't tell me. The cows are giving blood instead of milk.
And this is no laughing matter. Gertrude isn't evil. She just has peculiar ideas about what's good for people.
And started counting out the coin there and then.
A little bird told you.
You know how good people are at seeing the splinter in it.
In other words, and what's the problem?
As long as herb women stick to giving psychic to folk and bloated cows. But this is sacrilege, and it's unsafe. All sorts of mold.
A bit of extra coin, never
What do you want me to do?
I want you to go and see her and find out what she's been up to. I know she lives in fear of the Holy Church, so tell her I sent you. If you learn that she truly did involve folk and...
Consider it done.
Good. And never fear. I'm a man who always pays his debts. Good luck, then.
May the Lord watch over you.
God be with you, Henry.
Shouldn't you tidy yourself up a bit?
So, how have you been?
I can't stop thinking about Skalitz.
I know. It was hell. But life has to go on. Why not clear your head and try to forget about it? At least for now.
What do you mean?
Do you feel like a walk?
That's not a bad idea. I've got lots to do right now. But I'd love to go another time. Will you come and see me again?
As her ladyship commands?
You jester.
I've brought you something.
Is this for me? This must have cost you a fortune. But I like it very much, thank you. You really mustn't bring me any more gifts like that, or you'll spoil me.
I'd like to know...
What do you think of the law? Who's this?
He's actually...
That's all.
No, go away. No, my God. No, let me sleep.
Greetings, Henry.
What now? Shall we take a walk?
You don't give up, do you? Well, let me think. And where would you care to go?
What if we took a stroll along the river?
Why not? That sounds lovely. Shall we go?
Let's go.
That was a good idea, to go for a walk. Not that I don't like the mill, but you get tired of it, so I'm glad you took me out. I'd love to see the markets in Prague one day. Have you ever been to Prague?
No, I haven't. I have been in Kuttenberg, but Prague must be much bigger.
I've heard it's pretty smelly, though.
Yeah, so many people in one place. So many assholes.
That's disgusting. I'd love to listen to that young preacher, Jan Hus. They say he preaches in the common tongue. Everyone's talking about it.
I bet he's just handsome. That's why the women dote on him.
You're a right one. A preacher doesn't need good looks for people to listen to him.
And what about that fine fellow at St. James? I know full well why all the girls have started going to confession, and you have too, so don't give me any of that.
You scoundrel. Well, all right. I admit I find him handsome. But that doesn't make me a bad Christian.
I'd never dare to suggest such a thing.
Tell you what. Let's not dawdle. Last one is a slimy slug. That was fun. Sit down here next to me, Hal. And what about you? I heard you're helping Sir Radzig.
Sir Radzig has me running in a few errands. I have to say, he always treats me well, and I make a wage.
So you've had your turn of luck. What's it like serving nobility?
I don't know. I suppose it's a job like any other.
I don't believe a word of it. If you ask me, you're loving every minute and you don't want to make me envious.
Now then.
Ah, Henry, what am I going to do with you? Wandering the land, turning innocent girls' heads.
The only one here whose head is all messed up is me. How do you always manage to look so good?
Just look at the lady killer. Where did you learn to talk that way?
I don't recall which church service it was exactly.
You scoundrel. But you certainly know how to make a girl feel special. You may continue. But now I have to go.
Can I go with you?
I don't want to give anyone an excuse to gossip. Maybe another time.
Fancy doing something again?
I'd love to, Henry, but not just now. Come and see me in a couple of days. You've got to let a girl catch her breath now and then.
I could do with a bite to eat.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I'm looking for someone they call Riki.
Jesus, who wouldn't know Hinek?
Hinek?
That's his real name. I doubt he likes his nickname much.
No, I don't suppose he would. Where would I find him?
Try his folks' house, if you have the nerves for it. The old tanner's a grouchy sod.
What can you tell me about this Hinek?
What can I tell you? No, he's none.
Why not?
Well, I'm not one to gossip.
What's the tanner like, Hinek's father?
The less I see of him, the better.
Why do they call him Riki anyway?
Why do you think? Because he's a tanner.
So why don't people like him?
The old tanner's not an easy man, but a son should never let his father down. Hinek does nothing.
And does no one at all talk to him?
That harlot Adela hangs around with him, of course.
Harlot?
She works as a bathhouse wench. Same thing. God bless.
Yeah!
Take care.
I heard you've been seeing Hinek, the tanner's son.
So what? Come to preach at me, have you? That I'm a loose woman, a sinner, that I seduce decent men?
God, no, nothing like that. It's just that you're the only one in the village who sees Hinek, so I came to ask you about him.
Aye, I've seen him often enough, but I don't know what I could tell you about him.
Where can I find Hinek?
I haven't seen him in the village for a few days. He must have run off to the woods again.
Does he do that often?
From time to time.
What the hell does he get up to there?
I don't know.
Look, Hinek's my friend, and I really need to know where he is and what he's doing.
But I already told you I don't know where he's got to.
So I suppose he just goes to the woods to pick mushrooms, does he?
Mushrooms, no. More like hares or other game.
So Hinek is a poacher? That's no surprise.
Well, he was never much of one for an honest trade.
Do you know exactly where he goes? Maybe he has some favourite spot he might have told you about?
He said he has some hideout in the woods, but he didn't tell me where.
When did you last see him?
A few days ago. He came to me late in the evening, drunk.
And that was unusual?
I never saw him drink much. He always came to me sober.
So he was acting strangely that evening?
He was strange. I had the feeling he was afraid of something. He keeps prattling on and didn't seem to care about you know what. So I threw him out and I haven't seen him since.
Can you remember anything he said that evening?
Oh, I'm not sure. He went on about some fellow called Lubosh who died. That he was regretting he ever got into it. But he never said what it was. And that it wasn't worth it for the money. Aye. And then he was talking about the money. That was very odd.
What did he say about the money?
Just that he had a pile of it hidden behind his house.
I see. What did you say to that?
What could I say? He was drunk. He kept saying I was a fine girl, and other harlots wouldn't go with him even for money. And if I wanted, I could even take half the money and leave. Or he'd go with me, and we could get married and such. All just poppycock.
Did you go there for a look?
No, I've got better things to do. Obviously he made it up. Where would a layabout like him get so much coin?
Yes, I understand. Did he tell you exactly where he hid it?
He said he buried it at his father's small holding in the western corner.
All right, thank you.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
What was that noise?
Jesus Christ be praised.
I'm looking for your son. Any idea where he might be?
I don't know nothing.
Don't you at least know where he usually goes? It's important.
Hynek shows up at home once in a blue moon, so I don't know nothing about where he gets to. Even if I did, why would I tell every Tom, Dick and Harry?
Your son is about to get into deep shit. I'm trying to find him so I can warn him.
That's nothing new. He's always up to his ears in it.
But this time his neck's on the block. He got mixed up with some very dangerous people. I have to find him.
All right. He was here a few days ago, but he left right away. He looked like he was in a hurry.
And you don't know where he went?
I've got an idea, but I don't know where it is exactly.
I don't follow.
Hynek makes some money on the side from poaching. He boasted to me a few times about what a great hideout he found in the woods, but he never told me where it is.
Well, it's not much to go on, but it's better than nothing. Thank you. I'd like to talk to you about...
I'm very busy, so make...
Do you at least know any friends he's...
As far as I know, nobody here...
I heard he's seeing some bar...
Maybe. He can't get it for free, so I suppose he has to go to the baths.
Don't you have any clue at all where his hideout...
I really don't know nothing about that.
How's that?
Because every time he brought some hides for tanning, and...
He had money because he sold the stuff right...
I suppose. He never kept any...
Do you know who he sold it to?
No. But the innkeeper came here now and...
All right. I'll ask... What more do you know?
Nothing. I swear to God Almighty I've...
Bloody hell. Start using your head or I'll never find Hynek. How much time did he spend away? What was he wearing? How did he look when he came back? Anything?
Well, he came and went at all sorts of hours. I really don't know. Except maybe one thing. He'd come home scratched with brambles and with leaves and muck on him.
So he probably went through thick woods to get to that place.
I reckon. What do I know?
Don't you have...
I really don't know.
How's that?
Because every time... Go. And if he's really in as much shit as you say...
My respects to you, sir.
I want to ask about the courier's son, Hinek.
But ask someone else. They've nothing to do with Riki. He'd only drive my customers away.
Really? I heard a different story. I heard the two of you do business together.
Who are you, anyway?
A friend of Hinek's. He's gone missing and I need to find him.
I don't know where he is. But if you find the bastard, tell him he still owes me some goods.
I don't give a damn what deals you've been doing together. I won't tell anyone. I just need to know where Riki is. It's urgent.
What have our deals got to do with where he disappeared to?
More than you think. It's likely Riki is hiding out at his poaching lair. And believe me, it wasn't hard to find out who was buying game from him, and it's even easier to go to the castle and tell them. Poaching's a crime, after all.
I don't like being threatened. And I'm telling you for the last time, I don't know where he is.
About the goods Riki owes you.
What about it?
Well, supposing I settle the account for him and you stop dodging my questions and tell me what I want to know.
I suppose that would be all right.
How much is it?
Before he vanished, I paid him in advance for 5 hares.
We can settle things right away. As it happens, I have some game with me.
Let's see it then. Have you got it or not?
I've got that game.
Splendid. Some of the... Have you got it or...
What's happening around here?
Ah, like... now I think of it, the local herb woman. And by the way, especially at the mill, not a week goes whenever they're planning some mischief. Good luck to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything I can do for you?
As it happens, there is. Drahomira, a widow from Ledechko, requested my services. But it's a long...
All the way from Ledechko?
They do, but she didn't want a local. She's a rich widow, inherited a butcher's shop. Do you know anything at all?
Exorcisms?
You know, banishing ghosts.
A haunted butcher shop? What in a day?
It's not a task to be undertaken lightly. This is a real...
Slit a black cock's neck on the poor...
What a despicable thought. No. Do you know what smudging is? You'll need 10 poppies and some flowers from the deceased grave. Once you have all that, bring it to the house that's being haunted. Light it on fire, and the smoke will purge the place of any unwanted spirits.
Sounds like fun. I'll help you.
It's no game. It's a very serious matter. Drahomira was terrified, and these aren't...
Fine.
That's a question for Drahomira. Good luck, then.
God be with you, Henry.
Yeah. Yeah. Duh!
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
God be with you.
Would you have a job for me? Maybe you're in need of some supplies?
Fresh meat.
No problem. I can go to Ratai and buy some for you.
I could send a stable boy for that. I'm talking about game.
Game? But that's near impossible to buy. I'd have to hunt it myself. And that's against the law. Ah.
Of course. I'll pay you well for anything you bring. And if you help me out here and there.
That's an interesting... Are you after some meat?
I've run out of boar meat. If you could bring me some.
How's trade?
Around here? The ones who've got it worst are them at the Neuhof stud farm. Getting things up and running.
How's trade?
Nothing we can't handle.
May Lord watch over you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You can return home. It was hard work to convince them, so please don't get into trouble when you go back.
Thank you. I'd like to give you something, but I've got nothing except if you're ever traveling by way of Neuhof, stop by and I'll show you something with the horses.
How are you, Henry? Ah! Learn how to ride a horse, idiot!